So, hello and good afternoon, everyone. So, thank you again for joining our free online lesson. My name is Nabi Fikri, and I am application engineer from AutoCAD Systems. For this today free online lessons, I would like to share you about the design automations that you can do inside of AutoCAD by using parametric modeling. All right. Okay, so this is the agenda for today. So parametric constraint tools. So these automations, we're going to go through the parametrics. This is where we can add geometrical constraints, dimensional constraints, and we can add a parameter that we can control the size. Okay, so the first one is which be the geometry, but we are not going to take a look one by one of these because we already have created free lesson previously. But what we're going to do is that we're going to quickly create it using the auto constraint here. And we also have the dimension constraints. And we're going to manage it using the parameter. Okay, so let me show you about the inventor. Oh, sorry, the AutoCAD. So let me just hide this one first. Okay, so if you see from the home tab, you can add parametrics. So you can go to the parametrics tab over here. So if you don't see that parametric, you can right click and you can select, I believe, show tab here. There are parametric here. So if it turns on, you cannot see it and you can turn on parametric. So you should be able to have access for this. So if you use other software like Inventor for the 3D, and also for SolidWorks, I believe you might familiar with the concept of parametrics, especially with the Inventor. The tools here is very similar, right? The interface is basically a copy of Inventor. Okay, so this is just an example of what I have done before. And once I finish with parametrics, I can create something like a customizable, right? By going to the parametric manager over here, parameter manager. So over here, let's say I would like to change the size, let's say the width or the height, right, of my object here. So I have put some labels over here. I can control it easily using the parametric manager. Okay, for this case, I'm going to open one example. Let's say I would like to control the height of this. So currently it's 503 for the total height. I can change it. Maybe I want to make it 553, for example, and I can easily change it, and you will see it's automatically change based on the value that I want. So maybe I would like to change based on the length, maybe make it this for the SD side here to be slightly longer, 203. Maybe I want to make it to 43. Okay, or maybe I want to make this SV line to be longer. So I can just find the parameter value, then I can change the value from here. Okay, so that is what you can do with it. So how we can apply it. So open up one example. So currently I have this example drawing. I haven't add any parametric yet. Okay, so let me just turn off some of those drawing that does not need it. Let me just turn off the dimensions and the drawing. Oh, I need that one. Okay, I don't need this, and I also don't need the data block. Let me just see. Yeah, that one. Okay, this one I also add some label just for know which area it is. So B2 is basically at the top here, A1 is basically at the bottom. This is just an optional. Okay, so for that case, again, I can go to the parametric and I can start to add the geometric dimension and so on. Okay, but before that, this parameter or parametric or constraint tools inside of the AutoCAD is only available for the AutoCAD full version. It does not available for the AutoCAD LT version. AutoCAD LT can open drawing that has parameter. They can check on the parameter manager and they can control, change the value, but they cannot add a new one from the geometry or the dimensions. Right. And like I mentioned before, I'm not going to go through one by one of these. I have already done that on a previous free online lesson. So if you would like to see each of the individual tools, I have a link here. Let me just open link down here that you can check on our YouTube channels. Maybe I just paste it on the chat so that you guys can see. So you can open this thing if you want to see this. But for this case, we're just going to apply that, right? So how to make it quickly, make this become automation, right? Become parametric. So first of all, we have the auto constraint here. Okay, so we have the geometry. So if you don't want to do it one by one, you can just quickly use auto constraint. So for example, if I click this and I can move out, then you can see that we can break that. But if I add some geometric constraint here, like a coincidence, I can pick from this point here and to this point here. Okay, not yet. Let me just do again from this point. And from this point, then you see the point there. Okay, if you don't see it clearly, I try to do it one more time. This time it is separate. If I click this point and I click this point, and you see it try to connect. And once it's connecting, it will become connected. If I try to drag out, it will not be separated. So that is the constraint that we have, which is the coincident. Now, I don't want to include all the geometric constraints manually. So in that case, I can use the auto constraints. So I can add for, make sure this line here will always become verticals, this one will become horizontals, right? So that particular constraint. So what I can do is that I can use auto constraint here, select everything, and I press enter. All of the constraints now has been added, the ones that I need. Okay, but I believe my settings does not include everything. First of all, when you want to use auto constraint, usually you don't want to include everything because sometimes it will also add something like a parallel, for example. And maybe I don't want this line to be parallel. And you see, if I try to move, this one will follow as well. So to filter out the constraint that you want, you can go to the geometry here, and there are small arrow down here. This will be the settings. Okay, so we have the geometry tab. You might want to go to the auto constraint here. So in this case, I can turn on and off what constraint I want. So first of all, I would like to connect all the points, line connected together. So that will be coincident. I would like to have my line to be straight horizontally and vertically. So without that, okay, so for example, without that, I'm able to move that on different angle. But if I have a horizontal, for example, it will not allow to change to different angle except for horizontal. So that is some of the things that I want. So I would like to add coincidence. I would like to add some horizontal verticals, and I will also would like to add an equal. So we have a, let's say, multiple hole over here with the same size, so that if I want to change one of those, the rest I want to follow as well. So in that case, I can use equal. But for this case, I will do it later on. As for now, I can click OK. And when I do auto constraint, I can select everything and I press enter. And you will see now it's add the constraint here. If I try to click and edit, and you will see it's become connected. It does not become separated. Okay, so if you see too many symbols here, you can just hide all. If you want to show that on specific area, you can just click show hide. Maybe I would like to show on this area. So when I press enter, I can select show. So it will show. But for this case, let me just hide everything. Now I would like to have a circle as well to follow. The rest will follow. So I can add another auto constraints. I'm going to go over here. This time I don't need the consider constraint anymore. I just need the equal. And I use auto constraint here. And all of this, it will try to find the size that you have, right? You can select everything, but I don't want, if for example, this size here is similar with this, it tried to automate that one. I don't want to have that link. So I will just pick the only area that I want. So I can press enter. So if I try to change the size of this, then you will see the rest of this size will follow. This one does not follow because it's actually a different size. If I change this, only similar with this circle will change. Right. So the rest, I believe, okay, I also might need to have a tangents. So for example, if I were to change this circle over here, then you will see, or the arc here, you will see it does not become tangent. So I might also want that, and I would like to make this circle or arc here become equal as well. So I'm going to on for the tangent. And I can apply that for this case as well. And I also have a tangency over here, I believe, over here as well. Or I would like to add that as well. And over here as well. Okay, so if I try to change, so it will not able to change, right? And the rest will follow. Okay, so that is geometric constraints. So the things that allow you to control the size, that will be under the dimension. Okay, so when I input length, for example, so over here I have the dimension for constraint in. So I would like to make sure to tell this one has a length from this point to this point, so that will be 100. Okay, so I can just click anywhere else. And if I were to change, let's say this will be 150, for example. So press enter, then you will see it will become 150 for this line. Okay, so that is what the parametric can do. Okay, so if you want to take a look on the list, because if you add too many dimensions here, you will not be able to see as well. And you probably want to hide that like you hide with the geometric constraint. So with that case, you can click on the parameter manager and you will see this is the D1. The name of this parameter that I have here is D1, which is 150. So I can just double click to change the value from here, maybe 120. Or I can also do it from here, make it 100, for example. So that is how you can control your parameter. But the name for this parameter D1 is quite random. So I want the name that I am able to recognize. So I'm going to give this a name as a, let's say this is, since this one is on area A1, I'm going to name this one as a base, right? Let's say base A1 length, for example. Okay, or maybe I just put it A1 line. Okay, so I can go over here, and what I can do is that I can just double click on the name here, D1, and I can rename this one as A1 as length. Let me just put L over here. Now the name become easy for me to recognize here. I am able to see the name base from here. So if I want to, I just find the name and I can just put the value from there. All right, so same again, maybe I want to have a height. So I can add some more, like say from here to here. Previously, I input the name right from the parameter manager, but you can also put the name directly over here. So you can see that the name, this one will be D1. I'm going to rename this instead of D1. I'm going to name this one as a, let's say, back height, which is equal 460. And I press enter. Now you will see this will also change right from here as well. Okay, if you have many dimension, maybe you don't need that, and you want to automate that, become parameter dimension. Okay, so if I take a look here, I already have some few. Say, yeah, I believe this one. Okay, so I have some line here. I can actually convert this into parameter. Okay, so it's not like auto constraint which automatically add For this case, we can use convert, but you need to have a dimension first, then you can convert. Okay, for example here, let's say if I have maybe, let's say this line here, I can use convert. I can click this line here and press enter. Now you see it become parametric. Okay, but if you still need that, so I advise you not to convert that. So let me just undo that. And let me just turn back off. So you can still add that manually from the parameter. We have that here. You can just use it from here. Right, so we can add dimensions and we can rename that. But that one is where we add that over here when we want to specify the length. Okay, if you already have a specific name that you want to tell that into the parameter manager before you enter the value here. So what you can do is that you can add a over here. Let me see the parameter user parameter, right? So you can add a user parameter. Let's say if I want to add a user parameter for this hole here, or which I call a pocket, for example. So I'm going to name this one as a pocket. Let's say pocket height. And pocket height, and I'm going to estimate this one is 170, 70. And I will also like to have a pocket for the length or the width. Okay. So length, and the length one will be, let's say, 80, for example. Okay, this one I created. It does not appear yet on our drawing. So if you want to, you can go and add the dimension from here to here. And the name of this dimension is D1. And I would like to use the information from the user parameter. So what I need to do is that I need to put the name over here, not at the front, because this one is D1. Okay, we want to reuse the one that already exists. So I can put it pocket. This one will be length. And you will see here, this is the constraint that I have. The name is D1. And it follows based on the pocket here. So if I change the pocket value to 70, so it becomes 70. If I change to 90, so it will change to 90. Okay, so let me just add another one. This one will be for the height. Okay, H for height, and so on. Right, so that is for length. I can also add some more, let's say for the hole here. So maybe I can use diameter, or maybe I can use radius. Maybe I use diameter over here. And I can give it a name, let's say hole A1. And then I'm gonna give it, let's say around 8.5. Okay, so again, we have that 8.5. If I change to, let's say, 5.5, then you'll see you will be able to change that. Now, if I were to change the baseline here, okay, so from 100, if I go into, let's say, 200, you will see that the hole here does not follow. Okay, I need to adjust that manually. So what you can do is that you can add something like an equation inside. Okay, so let's say I would like to add a length over here and over here. So this one will be around 65. Let's say I'm going to make this as a 65% of the baseline. So what I can do is that I can make sure that it will follow the baseline size. A1 baseline. So it will be 100, but I want this to be 65%. So I'm going to times 0.65. So it will be 65% of this. So if I were to change this to, let's say, 150, for example, you see, let's try to make it 65%. Change it, let's say 200. Okay, so again, 65%. But however, instead of changing the length, so you can see that it start to have a wider gap. It's because we take from percentage. Let's say I make it, let's say 400, for example, the line become much wider. Maybe I want it to be balanced. So instead of making this one as 65%, I just make it the value of baseline here just minus the leftover value. So 65, that will be 100 minus 65, that will be 25, I believe. So I'm going to just, instead of times, I'm going to minus. So, okay, I believe should be, let me just make it 20. Oh no, okay, I think it's 30. Let me just, yeah, maybe 35. Okay, I believe it's 35. Okay, it's 35. So if I were to change this to say 200, then you will see the gap here is still almost similar. That's because it's trying to take this and it's just minus 35. Okay, so it's depend on how you want your automation to change based on your model here. So I'm gonna go back to let's say 150 for example, or maybe 120. So if you have something like this, at the top one, you want to follow the bottom one, what you can do is that you can add the same things. So maybe I can make this one and this one is equal to, okay, I don't want to put the equation anymore. I want to follow this line. So I can just make it from this point to this point here. This line, the name here is D3. So I'm going to make D4 is equal to D3. If I change it, 100, both change, make it 1,4, both change. And the other way, what you can do is that you can also add a dimension from here and just make sure that it become a line. I just put 0 over here. So it will always align with this. Okay, but I need to add some fixing over here first. Zero. Okay, so if I were to change 100, so both will be changed. Okay. Okay. One thing that I forgot to mention is that when you have an automation, usually you don't want your model to accidentally move out of the area that you want. For example, let's say this item here is slightly moved downward or move left. Sometimes you want to have a one anchor point. So in that case, usually maybe I don't want this point to be able to move. This will be the anchor point. So what you can do is that you can add a fix. So fix will make sure that this point cannot be moved. So if I try to pull it downward, it will not be able to move, but I still able to change the value from here, for example. So we basically anchor that on this point. Right, so same goes with this part over here. If I want to, I can ensure that this one has the same length with the back here. Okay, so I can put this one. I believe I already that this one will be equal to back h. So if I were to change this back h value, we make it 5. This one will change it as well. But sometimes when you do that, it could be that this line become on the opposite direction. Maybe this one I pull up, this one pull down. So in that case, I can add some more geometric constraints and want to make sure that the base here is aligned with this. So I can add something like a collinear so that it will be aligned. Okay? So if I were to make this for 80, for example, it will not be able to move further up or further downward. It will follow on the left. Okay, let me just make it 60. Okay, another things, okay, if you take a look here, we have a few constraint or a few parameter that we already have, or we have like 5 of them over here. Some of those does not require a parameter. Okay, you just make sure that you're able to fix that. One example here, let's say if I were to pull this and you don't want the angle to move as well, sometimes you just put the dimensions or the parameter, but you don't have to add the name. So when I do it something like this, when I try to pull this, so it must make sure that the angle will not be able to change. So sometimes you don't have to add the name just to make sure that it will be fixed on certain angle or certain length. The same goes with the circle here. If I try to move, so to see the circle does not follow, maybe I want it to follow, so I can make sure to inform this that this will be 20 from this line here, and also from the top here will be 15, or maybe I want this to be 20 as well. Okay, so if I were to pull this, let me just hide first. So if I were to pull this, it will stay and it will follow. Okay, this one also I need to have a tangent. Okay. Okay, again, we have like 5 of them over here, and we have sometimes we have too many constraints. Some of those does not have a name, and it can be a bit difficult for you to find that. Okay, let me just add some more. Okay, we already have the hole here. Maybe I want to have hole at the top over here as well. Maybe this one, I name this one as a hole V2, and I add another hole over here as well. Or maybe this one is C3, but it's on the B side, so I'm going to name it as C3B. And down here as well. Say hole C3A. Okay, so I have a few dimensions here. So to organize that, what you can do is that you can add a group over here, a parametric group, so that I can able to see easily. So I can add, let's say, this is for the pocket and the hole only. So I can name this one as a, let's say, hole and pocket. And I can go back to all. I find that hole and pocket, hole, and also for the pocket here, I can drag that. Oh, let me just drag back in the hole. Or maybe I just simply want all of this, all parameter only. Okay, so those that without parameter, I want to ignore that. So I can just find all those with the name. I can add an all parameter. Maybe I want for say length, height, and so on. So I can add some more group. Okay, so for the height one, I only have the back height only. So if I want to add a new one, I just go into the height folder here, and I can add some height over here. It will automatically add into the height folder. So I go over here, and I'm going to name this one as a, let's say, B2 height. And this one, I believe too much. I'm gonna make it 20. Okay, all right. So a few more constraints need to be added. Okay, but for this case, I just leave it over here. Let me just pull downward a bit. Here, then this one will be height. Okay. B2 height equal 20. So you can see it's automatically added, but you can find it on the all tab as well. Okay, so we have a few. So let me just hide all of this. So if I go to the hole and pocket, I can control easily using this value here. Want to make it 160, for example. I want to make it pocket slightly thinner, slimmer. Okay, maybe make it a 60s. Okay, I want to change the hole value, make it bigger, so I can do it easily from here. And one of the things is that a dimension. So when you change the value over here and then you still want to see that, right? So that one should not be a problem. So if I open back my dimension over here, you can see that my base here is 100. If I go and find that parameter, I believe that will be the best add. So I change it, let's say 80. So it's automatically changed into 80. Change it 120, so automatically change because the dimension will usually follow the length. If I have, let's say, a line here, okay, and I want to add some dimension, okay, I believe this is same color. Let me just change it slightly different. Okay, so if I were to click this line here, I can readjust, make it shorter. Now you see it's automatically update 55. So if I drop down somewhere, it will be automatically updated. So this one, you don't have to do much. Once you add the dimensions and you want to change anything, the dimension should follow the line that you have covered. Right, so that is the automations that you can add and configure for your sketch. So I hope this is useful for you guys. So until then, have a nice day and bye-bye.